Bravo is famous for unscripted programming, and people say remarkable things on Bravo. And I would love to know how you, as the Chief Digital Officer at Bravo, have kind of worked with programmers in particular and say, wow, there's a basis here for some really interesting digital experience. And I almost don't want to say anything else. I want to hear you riff on that for the next 5 minutes.
Well, I would say it's evolved over time. So when I got there 7 years ago, it was like all television websites, it was really a marketing site. And we basically got the leftover things that didn't make it on air. And that's what the digital department was. So over time, it's really changed. And I think the whole nature of Bravo has changed, and we're really a content creation company, and which people, whether it be marketing, production, et cetera, see a huge value in digital and see themselves as part of the digital team. And I think that's come from some of the successes we've had. So, for instance, we recently did a series, there's this TV show called Top Chef, and we did a accompanying digital series called Last Chance Kitchen, where the chefs on the TV show found out that they were going to compete in a digital series that would be on every other platform, but you had to find out, and they were competing to get back on the show. So we had absolutely no idea would anyone go to it. So at the end of the TV show, we said, go to bravotv.com. I couldn't also say Hulu, Apple, iTunes, on your mobile phone, on your tablet, et cetera. We just told them to go to one place. Within weeks, they found it in every place. And it ended up that 40% of the viewers who were watching the show watched the series. It had 8 million video views, which was the highest that any NBCU series has ever gotten. And suddenly the production people started paying a lot more attention to us and seeing that there was a value not only in their storytelling, but that they could tell their story on other platforms and people would go there. So it was great for us. It's a potentially expanded environment for us. It's expanded revenue for us. It's expanded opportunity for the advertiser. So in that case, it's been Toyota, who's a long-term sponsor of Top Chef, and we're hoping to kind of push the envelope even more. So production's really seen the value of it, as has marketing. In the beginning, once social sort of came along, and we started doing social editions, so we'd show the air, and Bravo shows often have re-airs. So we do a re-air with all the tweets or Facebook posts that people had seen, and suddenly the ratings started increasing because Bravo fans are extremely rabid. So there is no power like a Real Housewives fan with a mobile phone in her hand. So they would often go and watch a second rerun for the interactive series, and suddenly that helped the ratings. So all of a sudden, the schedulers and the marketers saw value in it. You know, the rise of viral videos and the conversation you can build therein. So all of a sudden, we no longer see ourselves as like, okay, you're digital and you get the leftovers. It's really about helping each other and creating Bravo's really a content company, whatever department you work on, and it's helping grow the overall pie.
So tell us, you mentioned Toyota and their long-term commitment, which I think is, by the way, great, because one of the biggest challenges for advertisers in the digital world is that patience seems to be at a premium. People like things to succeed extremely measurably and extremely quickly. But Toyota's obviously been in for the long run, both in television and online. How did they change what they did in terms of the communications they produced and tap into some of the behaviors that are unique to the online space whilst maintaining the spirit of the show? How did they kind of amplify their work?
Well, first of all, I really give them credit because so many of the things we do, Bravo likes to be at the limit, at the sort of edge of what's happening. So a lot of times they've taken a flyer with us. And I said, we've got this fantastic company digital series. It's going to impact what happens with the show. It's going to be great. You know, we'll do, and of course, what they really liked is we'll do research around it about cross-platform research. So they started to evolve. I would say it's still a process. One of the lessons we learned on the first series was that we didn't have, if you were an avid fan, you watched all 12 episodes and you also bought media, so you saw the same pre-roll many times. So their brand recall was off the charts. But you need to vary that. If you have a fan who's going to be watching it all the time, you need to mix and match. So I think there's a long way for all of our sponsors to work together to make things more interactive. You know, in the second screen experience, now you can make ads interactive. But I think one of the problems we have to face is with agencies in general, it's a lot of extra work. So how do we solve that problem of, you know, I've got some great ideas, they would like to try to do some great ideas, I would love to have their social conversation, you know, in tandem with our social conversation, but who's going to be doing all that content work and the special ad units, et cetera. So I think, you know, it's still a process.
Yeah, it seems we've solved a huge amount of the distribution problem,
Yeah.
and we haven't solved as much of the manufacturing problem of the assets as we
Yeah, I mean,
as we need to do.
they'll all catch up over time, but right now there's room to grow.
So you said the second screening words, and second screening has got a lot of play recently, and it's become a significant topic of conversation. We've seen the Nielsen second screen report for Q4 2012 that tells us that pretty much everyone at some point or another is using another device simultaneous to consuming television. So there's a threat there at the one hand, because are they paying attention? And there's an opportunity there too. When you think about the second screen at Bravo, are you thinking about those synchronized experiences where people are actually joining in directly with the show, or are you thinking about it in some other way?
Bravo is the perfect fit for this because our fans, as I said, really care, and they the real-time equation has really changed. We were the first ones to combine Facebook and Twitter to create a conversation, and you could then start tweeting with the housewives, et cetera. And when the iPad came out, we were the first network to create an iPad app. Now everyone has them, but we were the only one out in the marketplace for about a year, and we really had a chance to experiment about what was working and what wasn't. And what I found was that people really wanted to have the real-time conversation, but they also want to have a sort of 7-day-a-week conversation. They want to check on what's happening with the blogs, et cetera, you know, and check up during the week. One of the challenges I think in the second screen space, NBC has done a big investment in Z-Box. Jason Forbes is here. And you know, they're trying to capture the whole second screen conversation around television. I think aggregation is one of the directions we're going to move, but where does that leave my Bravo Now app? Because I really care about that, and we're doing a great job monetizing that and offering to the fans. So I think ultimately the Bravo Now app will evolve to be our TV Everywhere app. So you'll be able to watch the full spectrum of conversation and an in-depth conversation, as well as the aggregators, as well as the Get Glue, Viggles, et cetera. You know, but that's also a problem. Recently, we just launched a product called Play Live, which allows you to have interaction on the second screen using a URL. And I really learned from that one, because the challenge with apps is you have to download the app.
Right.
And that's, you know, that's a process, and you know, it sounds easy, but it takes time. Or with, we've done a lot with mobile and SMS texting and voting to win and things like that. Again, you have to download, you have to remember the code, whereas if you go off a URL, which is this Play Live, you watch and you know, decide which housewife is going to leave the party first and things like that, and you get instant real-time results. The adoption has been huge, much bigger than our previous uses, and you know, people bookmark it. So I realize that it's a lot about ease of use for the consumer. So in whatever we do, I'm always going to keep that in mind.
Do you get any scale sense of this? So if you look at the total audience first run for a Real Housewives episode, and within that, the number of people that are actually directly participating, because you could kind of explode the numbers out with loads of tweets and loads of Facebook posts and loads of likes, but then when you sort of cycle back and look at it as a percentage of the whole audience that you've got, is this becoming a kind of mainstream behavior for Bravo viewers, or is it kind of a niche that might turn out to be interesting?
I think you have to follow the user and whatever the user is doing. So, and the other thing is the content has to be of quality that people care about. If you're just going to give them stuff, I think one of the challenges you have with social is there's a lot of stuff that's not curated.
Right.
So the bottom line is, if its ease of use is great and the content is great, I mean, I could never have imagined that I would get 40% of the TV audience to go to another thing to watch an 8-minute video.
Wow, okay.
You know, so that kind of, I think it really depends on ease of use. You know, things start small, but then you have to see what the adoption of the marketplace is. The
social stream's an interesting place. There's an acquaintance of mine, who should remain nameless, who said to me a while ago, because I was talking about the comment stream on his site, he said, my readers are some of the most intelligent people in the world, and my commenters are morons, which I thought was interesting, implying that they were perhaps different people. Does Bravo kind of concern itself in the social stream that attaches to its brand and the brand of its programs about quality and about what people say? And does it kind of, do you feel that habitually it's in the manner of the show and complimentary, or is this an issue for you and how to handle it?
Well, I think on the one stream we now have a whole research team who follows the social conversation, what people are, and it directly affects us, like a real-time focus group. But I think the key thing is our social stream, the Bravo social stream that we're putting it out, not so much what we're getting back, has to be authentic. And I think that's one of the challenges, especially when we're working with advertiser and advertising brands who really want to be in your social conversation. So just like the content has to be great, any social stream conversation you have has to be, I believe, really authentic to the brand versus mixing it up and then you don't have this curated conversation, et cetera. And in terms of hearing us, ultimately, I would really like to see a world where we can, research is just a piece of it, but really where fans have a say, in what happens, and that we'll be able to put up a series and say, what do you think? And that can be our pilot testing period. We'll see, but it certainly has opened a whole new avenue for us.